Hey everyone, I'm Chris, Head of Marketing at Koya, and today we're going to be going through Pokemon collecting, and we're joined with Roy today, who's a bit of an expert in the field. So Roy, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi Chris, so my name's Roy Raftery. I'm a trading card expert based right here in London. I've pretty much done everything over the last 15 years, from like being at Ground Zero when the base set first come out and traveling with my friends and buying packs, to running my own card store, playing professionally, and working with some of the biggest names in the world, really, in terms of like auction companies and individuals buying and selling cards.
That's awesome. So a little bit about Pokemon, I guess. I mean, everyone kind of remembers it through their childhood growing up, either watching it on TV or playing through cards. I guess one of the things that's really shocked a lot of people now is the value of these cards and how they kind of exploded on the market within alternative assets. So how did you get into it, really?
As I said, kind of from the start, I've just been collecting cards. My friends and I would just save our bus fare, save our pocket money to just travel to buy base set packs.
Yeah.
And then I think my first store that I opened was about Magic the Gathering. So I kind of had a long period where I wasn't into Pokemon. And I think what happened for me was similar to other people out there. My son got involved in the game. So I started collecting with him and just like, oh, look what I still had. Because I just didn't really throw away or just chuck any or trade any of my cards.
Yeah.
And then when I opened the second store, it was involved in the second store. That's when we started running Pokemon events. And when you're running events and you've got the brand new packs and you've got a kid who's into it, you just fall right back into it, really. Just went from there.
Yeah, definitely. And someone looking to get into the space, what sort of advice would you kind of give them in terms of, how much money should be involved to start a collection, or what's the best way to go about it?
I think it really just depends on what you want to do, what you want to achieve from collecting. Just if you want to collect or play for fun, just get a couple packs of the new set, see where you like it. Each set kind of runs off a theme. So currently it's the new video game.
Yeah.
The next set coming out in a few months would be based on the Legends Arceus game, which just come out. So I have all the Pokemon from there. So if you like the game, then you can start with that. Or if you want to just go, in the deep end, you can look for some of the older packs online and go from there. But the farther back you go, the more expensive they are.
And so we got a bit of a collection here on display today.
Yes.
We got everything from PSA graded cards to some of the poster stamps or the jumbo cards, boxes, and obviously a booster box there. What makes the Pokemon valuable, and how do you go about basically either buying it or selling it?
Oh, so loads of factors, really. Iconic Pokemon, they always stand out. So like the Charizards, it's iconic because if you go all the way back to base set, the Charizard was like the strongest card on the playground.
Yeah.
It had the highest HP, the highest attack. It just looked really cool. It just beat everyone else. And that kind of ideology has just always carried on with Pokemon. And Charizard has never been the most competitive card, in the card game. It's never won major tournaments, but it's always commanded a high price because of that like base set era. So loads of factors go into why something is expensive, such as like fan favorite Pokemon. So like Charizard is one of the biggest ones. Gengar, people love Gengar. Pikachu and Eevee for reasons like that. And then there's people that just want to these boxes have gone up over the last, like 2 to 3 years. 3 years ago, you could get a box for 7 to 8K.
Yeah.
And then the highest around Christmas 2020, they were like 23, 24 at some, and it's a market, isn't it? Really,
Crazy.
It is really crazy. So there's so many reasons why you would get into Pokemon. It's just an exciting world, really.
Yeah, I bet. So someone new to the space, or coming across Pokemon, they probably collected as a kid and probably traded them as probably as sweets or something else in the playground, probably completely forgotten about it. Probably coming back to it, a lot has changed in the industry and how these cards are actually deemed valuable. So if we're looking at a PSA card, what is PSA? What is the point of getting these cards graded?
When a card's graded, it's encased in this beautiful plastic slab, and it's given a grade, it's given a value, and it will essentially always be that grade it's never going to depreciate, or the card will never deteriorate.
Yeah.
Is the main point. The card is always going to be that condition now for the next 50 years. Each graded card has its own ID code, so you can see population report, which is how many of them out there. So you have your card and you're like, oh, there's only 6 of these in the world. And as as the years go on, you're like, oh, there's 7, another guy got one, or there's 8, or there's 9. And it's quite exciting seeing how many of something is out there that you own. And obviously that dictates the value as well. But again, you don't always have to buy PSA cards that are, in the high tens of thousands. You can just buy a card of a Pokemon that you like, just because you like that Pokemon and you want to own a graded high grade card of that Pokemon. So there's loads of ways you can get in and just collect for fun or collect for value.
And we've probably seen the news recently with, the likes of Logan Paul coming into the market, Logic buying a card as well, breaking records, cards selling for over $250,000, $400,000. Do you think it's inflated some of the market a little bit, or has it helped in any way?
Absolutely inflated the market, because I think one of the other things was Justin Bieber. He did like a Cribs episode during the pandemic, and as he's walking around, he just had the full base set on his wall. And when that happened, it just went up as well, because influencers or people who have influence, just real people they just want the same thing. And the other thing as well about the pandemic, people saw these cards in the limelight and they're like, oh, I've got these in my attic. They've been up there for like 10, 15 years. And that makes people rummage through. And the misleading thing, I think, with these influencers is them saying that the cards are worth X amount. This card is worth tens of thousands of dollars. And you have a Charizard, but you don't have a first edition Shadowless Charizard. And you don't have one that's graded. Do you know what I mean? Theirs is up here. Theirs is a 10 graded, first edition 10 Shadowless. Pristine. You have an unlimited one that's been in a folder in your attic for 15 years, which is probably a bit curved because of the moisture in your house. And I had people coming to me and going, I've got a Charizard, I know it's worth 10 grand. And I'm like, with all respect, I've got one here on sale for £75 that's in better condition than your one. So yeah, there was a lot of misinformation around the time. Everyone just thought they thought they were millionaires, in all honesty. They thought their cards were worth so much money, and it was really disheartening for them to learn that. And yeah, it was bad. It was a bad time, don't get me wrong. To be a vendor on an official store, it wasn't the best time, because at the start, when everything went up, everyone bought your stuff really cheap, so you lost out money, and it was the pandemic, so it was a bit hard. And then as it went on, people were coming to you and want like $1 grand for a card that's really worth 50 quid or £100. So yeah, it was a lot of misinformation during the time.
So it's quite important to kind of know what you're buying into.
Yeah.
And probably do some digging around online.
Definitely do your research. As I said, there's loads of ways of how you can collect Pokemon cards. Once you find out a way, just do your research on if you want to collect a particular set, a particular era, a particular Pokemon, and then just go from there, really. But yeah, it's tough. It was a tough time.
I bet. And what do you think is going to happen over the next few years with some of these collectibles in the Pokemon world?
I genuinely think Pokemon might take a small dip at the moment, because the pandemic, it's not over, but the world's reopened, everyone's opened up, everyone's going back into work, and it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. When their cards are in their loft or their attics, they didn't know about them. When when it pushed in front of them, that's all they think about. That's all people were buying. Now I think people are going back to work, so their cards are kind of just pushed under the coffee table as opposed to the attic. And there's nothing really going on. We've just come off of the 25th anniversary. There's a lot of good sets coming out. So like Pokemon Go are going to be releasing their own like trading card set. So it'll kind of just be stable, or just kind of go down by about 5 or 10%. But then it only takes like one influencer, one high profile celebrity to be like, oh yes, this is back, I'm back with this, let's go Pokemon, and everyone will be back into it. Jump back on it. And then, I know it's a silly thing, but in 4 years' time, you have the 30th anniversary.
Right.
And then again, everyone's like, wait, this is 30 years old?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh. And then it goes from there, really.
Yeah, so I guess it touches on that whole scarcity in terms of...
Things like increase by 100%, and then when things increase by 100 and they dip by 20, that's still good. That's still good margins. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
So I think it might go like that. I think it might slowly dip, but then it'll go up.
So still a good time to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. So we got a bit of a special item here today, and some exciting news coming up for people in our kind of community and everyone who's following along with Koya. Would you mind telling a little bit about the box we got here today? Yeah,
so we have an unlimited base set box from 1999, verified as best as we can with all the checks. That can be, you can look at that later on. This is the first ever set. This is like the holy grail of Pokemon. 36 packs, guaranteed 12 holographic cards, which is all random, but some people have been opening up 2 or 3 of the same card.
So you could get a Charizard.
You could get 2 Charizards. You could get 3 Charizards. It's the best thing to have. It's like the start. It's the start of Pokemon essentially. Yeah, you can't really, other than a first edition box, which is like hundreds of thousands. This is the next best
kind
thing.
of go to. Yeah. Awesome. So there's many ways that people can get involved with Pokemon, whether that's kind of buying, trading online, different marketplaces, and what we've seen over the last, I guess, the year or so, that there's also something called fractional kind of investing or fractional buying that people can get involved with the marketplaces. And there's a few that's popped up in the US, and obviously here at Koya, we're trying to open access to people with those kind of more high valuable assets. What's your kind of take on that?
It's a new world, really, isn't it? It's a new market, and I don't know personally. From someone who's always had physical things in my hand that I can go and trade, having like a digitized version of it, it is new. But I think if the entry price is right and people like what they're buying, then they'll come on board. Like there's been times where I've gone to a restaurant and I've been like, oh, that was only 30 quid. I'd pay more for that meal. Do you know what I mean? People pay more for the things that they enjoy that they want to buy. And this stuff, as I said, it's a new world. I think it's an experiment, isn't it? Everything is an experiment going forward. So it'd be interesting to see, to be honest with you. And as long as it's clear what people are getting and what they can do with what they get, and they enjoy it and they like it, then let's go with it.
Yeah, I think it kind of, like you touched on that point, it's all around the passion side. And I think anyone who can't afford a 100K box or a 100K card, they want a piece of that action. And I think fractions or fractionalization of ownership is one way to kind of say that, I own a percentage or a fraction of this Charizard first edition. So I think it's really cool. What's your take on Pokemon flipping, I guess, in the marketplace, and how that kind of maybe dilutes the market or inflates the market?
I think wherever there's money to be made, there will be someone there trying to make that money. And that whole word of like scalpers, of like, buying something at retail and selling it for like quadruple, it's always going to happen. It exists in every type of market, whether it's like trainers or watches or cards. It is what it is. They've made their money and now they're getting out, to be honest with you. So hopefully the Pokemon world is going to be a bit more friendly going forward. Stock levels at the distribution stage, it's going to be readily available because with pandemic, factories shut down. So now there's going to be more stuff out there. So there'll be less people flipping the recent products, and things like this and this are a lot harder to flip, especially when they wanted to trade stuff like this into crypto, and then the passion for it died out, or people didn't really understand it. So I think there'll be less like evil scalpers, evil flipping in the future, but it's always going to exist. Like, there's nothing you can.
It's probably brought a lot of people back to the marketplace of Pokemon as well. Probably a lot of people have forgotten about it over the last kind of 10, 20 years.
Let's be fair, it's probably made a lot of people happy who had it and wanted to sell to the flippers because they had they had no idea what their stuff was worth, and they then had some idea what it was worth, and they was probably offered something more. At the end of the day, money is money. Right? You need it to live. So it's going to be a tough one, but it should be a brighter future for Pokemon in general going forward.
Sounds good. And then I guess last question, kind of wrapping it all up, where's the best place to kind of find information about Pokemon, how to get into it? Obviously you kind of work with auction houses. What's the go-to to kind of keep on top of the news and media?
So check out like the official social media pages from Pokemon. They have it's really detailed, it's broken down. So if you just want to play Pokemon Go, there's a site to go for Pokemon Go. If you want to physically play the trading card game, you can do that. There's big events that go all on around the world. If you want to collect the cards, they tell you when things come out. So stick to them. Stick to some of the bigger retail stores as well. People like Magic Madhouse, Chaos Cards, and your local game store. So like places like Dark Sphere, Sneak Attack Games, just places that really love what they're doing, and they have official stuff, and you can't go wrong with stuff like that because the people in those worlds will help you out no matter what you want to do, and then you'll meet new friends and you'll be able to go from there, really.
And I guess you can play play with real people
Yeah,
again.
it was good. I was at a regional in Liverpool over the weekend, and there was like over 500 people there, and the community was so happy just to be there, to be with their friends again, to play Pokemon. Everything was there. They had a trading card event, VGC, so the video game, and the first ever Pokemon Go regional. So it had everything there really, and there was people buying and selling cards left, right, and centre. It was great. It was a really good weekend for Pokemon. So yeah, more of that in the future.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in. It's been a real joy. Viewers watching this, make sure to check out our community Discord online, also the website, and we'll have some more news around the drop happening soon.